So last week, someone kind of blew my mind a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after we posted the first episode of our podcast, we
hmm
got a lot of comments on Reddit and other places. And people seem to indicate that we're not actual casuals at all, you know? And so I finally realized that I'm kind of a nerd.
How was the launch?
Yeah, it was good. I played Midnight. Played with Yeah, we ended up finding last person, even though the alliance guy dropped out. Yes, if you remember from last week.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was pretty fun. Very stable servers, no issues really. Um, Took us like 5 hours or something to get to max level. We didn't really know. We could have definitely been faster. Like we didn't really prepare too much. And we had my fiance was in the group, and she gets a little bit stressed when everyone's running around and doing
Yeah.
things and stuff. So she had some moments where we probably lost a bit of time from that. But yeah, overall it was really good. How was yours? I know you didn't really play on the actual launch at midnight, but you played the day after, yeah?
Yeah, I got home at like 3 or so and started. And luckily, a guy in the guild was also starting at the same time, so we just did the entire campaign together pretty much. Took quite a while to do the campaign. I'm not sure exactly, but that was most of the Friday. And then I started with an alt and dungeon spammed. Did
Yeah.
you hit max level during the night? How long did it actually take?
No, it took like 5 hours total to hit max
Okay.
level. So yeah, it was pretty
I
okay.
think it might have taken longer for me, but I'm not sure. I just tried to skip everything and just full send the campaign, and I was at like 77 or something when it was done. And then we just started dungeon spamming as well.
We did the same, yeah. We did the full campaign, zero side quests, and then we just started spamming dungeons. We didn't know ahead of time that was going to be a thing, but someone in our group was saying like, I've seen people do the dungeons now, and
Oh,
so
okay.
then we sort of started doing that as well.
I don't
Which
think we
turned,
considered the time. I think we just figured we're probably slow at questing, and questing is more boring than just trying out the dungeons. So we just ended up with the correct solution as well.
yeah. I mean, for us, obviously, since we were a pre-made, dungeons were really fast, right? Comparatively, right? We were doing the dungeons in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever they were taking, you know. So
Oh, did you? I guess you didn't realize how broken the low levels were if you started at like 77 with a full pre-made.
yeah, no, we didn't. We didn't really notice it. Um, well, I obviously noticed it on my second character when when I was low level from the start. But no, no, not really. Because everyone was the same level when we started the dungeons, so that
Oh, okay.
wasn't really something that we noticed much of. Um,
Now I
but
remember we did one dungeon, and we were both 77. I played Evoker, he played Hunter, and I was absolutely destroying the mobs. He did no damage at all as a BM Hunter, and obviously I was talking shit. And then we queued up for like the next dungeon or dungeon after that, and we had some pre-made from the guild, a level 70 DH, and oh my god, we realized how how little damage we both did, because it's not like he did double our damage, you know. It's to the scale of he's doing 98% of the damage in the dungeon, just one-shotting everything. And how did you find the dungeon low-level meta leveling?
I'm not even sure what is that? The dungeon low level meta level. What?
The characters that are like 70 to 73 are like absurdly strong. Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculously strong. So you just rotate low levels as much as you can. So you have a guy swapping characters when they get high, and then once other people in the group ding, you can just rotate one of them into the low one, and he can log another one, and you try and keep a level 70 to 73 character in the group for as much as you can, pretty much.
Yeah. I heard about that, but it's obviously like if you that makes sense if you're leveling a bunch of characters, right? But for me, I leveled two warriors, right? And the first one I didn't do the dungeons, and the second one I can't really rotate, right? Because I have no character to rotate
Yeah.
of my
Okay.
own,
Yeah.
so I didn't end up doing that. But yeah, I heard that people do that. If you're gonna like speed level a lot of characters, it makes a lot of sense to do that for sure.
Yeah, you could do it with. I mean, every 70 was really strong, but some specs and classes are just more prone to speed than others. Either you need to play like a boomkin or something in the range world, just so you can pull fast and go. Otherwise, it's pretty much the melee specs that wreck everything. But I leveled 6 characters, so it was a lot of dungeon and a lot of trying to find low levels because it became really slow. Because when you queued and you didn't have a full pre-made, the first thing I did, you just look at the group and you see 78, 79, 79, 80, 78, and you just sigh, okay, this dungeon is gonna take 10 minutes, which in all things considered is still quick, but it's double the time of if you've just gotten a random 71 rogue.
Yeah, I mean, I think the dungeon that I dinged my second character, I was just solo queuing at that point. I played with some other guy for most of it, but the last one I just did a solo one, and I think there were like 3 or even 4 80s in the key, and I'm
Then
like,
it's
oh
slow.
no, yeah. But it was like I just needed like 1 bar or 2 bars or like it's just like whatever. I'll just send it, and it was fine, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you're not super affected since you're only leveling 2 characters, but how did you find the pacing between leveling the first character and the second one?
I mean, obviously it was faster the second time just because the doing dungeons is so fast. Like you get the bonus every time, and you get a lot of you get a lot of experience in the dungeon as well.
Yeah,
But I mean, since I did mostly 2-man queuing or solo queuing on my second character anyway, I guess we lost some time there as well. But yeah, I was still probably faster on the second run just because yeah, dungeons are so fast. Plus, you also get the 5% bonus right for every character that you max out previously on your account.
yeah, I thought this was great. Like both the speed and the XP buff is really good. I mean, for my sake, it wouldn't even have to stop at 25. You could just keep going, kind of.
Yeah, I mean they probably have to stop somewhere, right? I guess I don't know if people like can. I mean, I'm sure there's some weird way people would exploit it otherwise, but yeah, they could definitely go further. There's no reason they couldn't go all the way to like 100% or something, right? But it
Yeah,
probably doesn't. It probably shouldn't just be uncapped, right? To like, I don't know. Can you have more than 50 characters now on the account, or I don't remember if they
yeah.
changed that or not.
Not sure, but as you said, like it could go to 100%. I'm not super. I'm just happy we get something because usually I want to level a bunch of characters, but I never end up doing it because it's such a tedious thing to do. Let's say it takes you 8 hours with food breaks and whatnot to ding. You're kind of tired after the second one or the third one, even if you have time, you know.
Yeah,
And you rarely experience anything leveling the fourth character. You just want it to get to max level. So I'm not super happy about the 70 to 73 or the low level people being so strong, and you just feel your character getting gradually worse and worse and worse and worse. But I like that the time was very reasonable. I think where you could level fast in like 2 to 3 hours. And the first character being slow. I could even see the first character being even slower, as long as the alts are sped up in some way.
yeah. I'm really happy with the alt speed up as well. Um, but yeah, the whole thing about the scaling in the dungeons. I mean, it's always been the case, or not always, but since they introduced the thing where you can like do dungeons across levels, right? That's always been the case that the lower levels are stronger, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just, I mean, the alternative is what it used to be, right? Where it's like, well, this dungeon is tuned for being like level 78 or whatever, right? So you can't really bring someone who's 73 or so that would also be like one option. But I feel like this is probably better the way it is now. It's just it's like slightly exploitable, but it also doesn't really matter, right? Who cares, you know?
yeah, yeah. I'm super happy it's fast. I don't really care how it's fast, but it would be great if it felt a bit better to do the dungeon at level 79.
Yeah.
But not the end of the world.
How do you feel about like the actual quests in the campaign?
What do you mean, like the story or how the
No, I
quests are
mean I
done?
assume you didn't, or like did you also do like rested XP or some like arrow add-on, or did you actually do the quests natty, so to speak?
Nary, I guess, but I just take all the quests and I do them. I skip all the cinematics and whatever. But I don't really feel a need. Like, you're doing the campaign, you really don't need rested XP. Like, there's no point whatsoever.
I
You
mean,
have.
it's surely way faster, right? If you haven't done it before on the beta or whatever, right? Because you don't have to. I probably don't know what I did half of the quest. I just follow the arrow and spam interact key everywhere, you know.
Yeah, but that's what you do even when you don't have it. I think rested XP would be great if you're planning to do all the quests in the zone, because there's definitely a big variation in how effective it would be to pick up certain quests and do them in a certain order. Because if a zone has like 150 quests, you have no clue how to make them effectively. But when you're doing the campaign and you have 1 to 3 quests at a time on your entire map, it's very obvious where you're going and what you're doing.
No, but I mean, even if there's like any single quest throughout the entire campaign that you wouldn't know what to do, then that would have been solved by just the arrow, right? I don't know. I feel like that. I feel like that definitely. I mean, obviously, I didn't try without it, but I'm pretty confident that it would have been slower if I didn't have it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I would guess it's insignificantly slower. Like, just for the campaign. If you were questing, I'd say it's probably worth if you have the money to buy such a guide. Um, but
Yeah.
Blizzard Standard does a really good job of pointing you where to go and highlighting stuff. Obviously, there's confusion sometimes, but essentially, I thought it was good. I'm not really into questing, so I don't know what my expectations were, but
Yeah, so I mean, I think probably this was something that was different for you, maybe if you were only doing like a two-man pre-made. But something that was true this time around that wasn't really true previously, I didn't feel like, because I've been doing these like five-man leveling parties for many, many expansions now, like on the launch. And something that I don't know if they've deliberately done this or not, but there were a lot of quests where you're supposed to pick up items on the ground that weren't shared across the party. So you kind of got screwed if you were five people in some sense. And I heard people were saying that the optimal way to do it was probably to just be three people, which I don't know. I mean, I understand that they probably don't want it to be like overpowered to be more people, you know? Because I mean, if
yeah,
everything is shared, that's one thing, but it felt like it felt like very very few things were shared, and it felt like we lost a lot of time from that because we were always waiting for one person to find their last of something, you know. And that didn't feel
yeah,
good, so that kind of, I didn't like that in general. And then also there felt like there was very few quests where you're actually killing things. It felt like there was just a lot of running around and picking stuff up or whatever, but I felt like very few quests actually had you kill mobs. I felt like I didn't fight almost at all. um,
yeah,
which was weird. So we didn't really use, because obviously we prepped with like banners and stuff, you know, those XP banners you get from your guild.
yeah,
And while we were questing, we almost didn't use them at all because we almost never grouped up and killed any mobs. It was just like, I mean, because there's no point almost if you're killing like one mob here and then you're looting something, you know. But we used them
it's a lot
more in the
more.
dungeons. But
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more interactions and dialogue and whatnot in the campaign. I didn't think about the amount of killing stuff. I was just trying to zoom, but I think you're right.
yeah,
Also, regarding the picking up or not shared quests, I think it would be good if everything was just shared. It could even like scale a bit if you're more people in the party. But honestly, as long as the thing you're picking up is not consumed, I'm kind of fine with it not being shared. It's when sometimes, very rarely, I feel like in the War Within now, you consume the thing you're picking up, and then it becomes really problematic to be more people. Because I've done all the quests in 3 of the 4 zones now, and I did them at least one of the zones with one friend. And there was one particular quest where you're picking up flowers, and when the flower disappeared when I was picking it up and he didn't get a reward, then I felt like, oh, this is gonna take a while, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, it's probably fine. Like it would be better if it just shared, but as long as it's not consumed.
yeah, yeah. But I think, yeah, I feel like that was pretty much the only. That's pretty much the only part of the leveling that I felt was kind of weird and I didn't like. But I liked otherwise, you know, the pacing was good, it was quick and all of these things. So that was nice. Um,
So what did you do when you hit max level then? What did you do at 80 the first
I went
two
to
hours?
I went to bed because it was in the middle of the night. It was like 5 in the morning.
Okay, but
Um,
in game.
um, I don't think I did much, honestly. I think I picked up my professions or something, but then I think I just logged off and just logged on my other character. I don't think I did anything right away. I don't think I even did any world quest or anything. I think I just went to my other character and started leveling it right away.
Okay, but when all your characters were 80, what did you start doing?
Then I definitely did the world quests. I think just did the whole like sweep of the world quests and those events that the trigger from doing like world quests. You get some, well, probably not very good gear, but you get some gear at least.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I I went to the auction house and bought gear because I figured higher item level gear, higher item level world quest gear. And that took a while because the auction house is not great at the minute.
Yeah, it's really weird. I tried to buy the Darkmoon trinket, but it wasn't possible. I could buy some other stuff like for enchanting or something, but I couldn't buy the Darkmoon trinket. I tried for like 20 minutes.
It seems like there's some delay in the refreshing because it becomes a real problem when you're buying the greens. Since you can buy up to 564 greens, it's quite a nice thing to do on your characters, right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to overpay for 564 gear. So you're trying to snipe the low gold ones. But then I guess some actual casual has put up like a decent pair of shoulders for 200 gold when the rest of them are at like 15k, and then you try to buy it and it doesn't work because the item is not there presumably. And then if you've done this a while, you realize that it just doesn't get refreshed. So I think there's some issue there because you can see the same item at the same low price for like 15 minutes or something before it actually gets removed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I thought that something like that might be the case, and then I tried to buy. I scrolled down like 15 entries or whatever for the Darkmoon trinket, and I click on that one, but it still didn't work. So I'm not really sure why or how that ended up happening. And now I haven't actually gone back to buy it. I'm not even sure if it's good. I guess I would. I tried to sim it, and one of them was like 30,000% upgrade or something. I think there's probably something wrong with simulation craft, but that's a different story altogether.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but then I don't know. I feel like they actually hit a good, like a sweet spot of there's a bunch of things to do, but there's really not enough power gain in anything where you have to do it, you know? You pretty much need to get the coffer key so you can do the +8 delve and open the chest or something on the heroic week, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, renown is great, gear is great, professions are great. Nothing is like you need to do this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, how do you like that in general? I mean, if you think about like both, I guess, expansion launches and I guess that that weird first week of a patch where there's no raid or whatever. Like, how do you like that in general? Because the way I would almost describe it is like you can almost get like you can almost spend an uncapped amount of time doing things and actually get something back, right? Because you can really farm a lot of you can do a lot of quests, you can do a lot of like rares, and you can like there are weird things you can do that technically progress your character, but in the end, I mean, none of this is going to matter probably like after heroic week, right? How do you like those sort of periods in the game as well? I mean, both in terms of like you don't know what to do, but also you can actually like spend all of your time doing something for player power if you want to.
Well, I think how it is right now is perfect because it doesn't matter. Like, there is a slight gain to grinding, right? If you have capped out your gear at like 587 or whatever people are at now, you're probably more likely to keep an item or two in the heroic week, right? But it's
Yeah.
not at all big enough so you have to do it, which I think is great. And I was thinking about this the other day where I do like that there's like some set things that you need to do that do not take a lot of time. Because you really don't want to force people to grind on all characters at the beginning of an expansion because then everything becomes a rush, you know? Like log in to my 6 characters and then I just do the same 3 world quests or whatever, or the same daily route. So this system I feel like is as good as it gets, where people can you have the best of both worlds, right? The people that enjoy the grind and min-maxing to the teeth can do it, and the people who don't and enjoy whatever other thing can just do that without feeling forced to grind.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of like that as well, or I feel like it's fine. I mean, I don't remember if you did, but I for sure did, like, in the last patch of Dragonflight, with those seed farming things. I farmed up the max reputation they're doing, like, all of these crappy seeds, like, which is super boring, but you still do it because you had nothing better to do, so why not? Um, but I feel like there's almost the same thing now where you can take. I don't know if it's possible or not, but it should be possible maybe to get renown level 24, and then you get like a free crest and like a crafting crest, and that kind of means that you sort of you don't get the max eye level crest, but you get like a good enough one to where you could use that to craft like an embellishment item, and then you don't have to waste all of your like other type of crests from the mythic raid and from the high keys, right? And you can
Yeah.
spend those on upgrades instead, which is actually pretty legitimate. Like if you actually manage to do that, that is a legitimate power advantage, right? That's not like completely pointless. That's actually a thing. And I just hope that this doesn't. I just hope that it doesn't turn out that you actually have to do that, or not have to, but
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't end up being possible to reach without doing something that they would, not ban you for, but at least like take it away from the game. Because I really don't want to sit there like grinding those seeds or whatever it would be in this expansion.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
just hoping
I've
that
heard
nothing like
people
that
are
happens.
high, but I don't understand how you get to that level. Like at all. I have no clue how you would be 20 renown.
I don't know, but I saw I was reading Twitter a little bit before we started recording today, and I saw. I mean, there was some tweet like a bunch of people in Method have 25. But then someone said there was some sort of bug, at least on beta, that there's like one specific quest that if you completed it, you instantly got 25 for some reason, like a bug. Um,
Hmm.
and I saw some comments on Twitter as well where people are just saying like, yeah, that this happened for someone in my guild or something. So I'm not sure if that's like a bug that doesn't always happen or something. It sounded really weird.
Hmm. No, but I don't know. Even so what's the situation? If you can get an heroic crest, then you can craft an item, becomes heroic level. Do you lose anything from upgrading it again to a mythic crest later in the patch? Or can you do that?
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, for sure. That's what you did in season 3, right? Of
Yeah.
Dragonflight. So the only thing is obviously you lose. I think you need to pay for like some recrafting mats, but for all intents and
Yeah, but
purposes,
power
that
wise,
doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. I mean, you don't. You still have your spark, so you don't lose that. The only thing you lose, that you actually can't get back just by going to the auction house and paying like 100 gold, is that you lose the crest that you spent. But that was the crest that you already you
Yeah,
already
three
got
crest.
extra, right? So no, yeah,
Okay.
there's really no downside to doing that. So if you can get that quest, that is it's a really big thing, because, and especially in this expansion, because they changed like the tracks, right? So you're gonna need a lot more of the whatever the highest crest, I don't know what they're called now, but the crest you get from Mythic Raid and like High End Plus. So I would assume that saving those crests now and being able to do other things with them is even more worth it now than it was previously. The,
Okay.
the the only thing that I think might sort of redeem this system a bit is that there is a quest on Wowhead. We don't know how you get it or whatever, or what you're even supposed to do, I think. But basically, you will get one of those crests from the quest, and it looks like this type of quest where, like, yeah, just kill the last boss in the raid or something. And if that's the case, then obviously that's pretty good, because then that means that you sort of lose a lot of the value, because then to actually get any value from it, you would have to only get a 24 renown crest for your second craft, which is 2 weeks later, which is a lot less degen, so to speak, right? Because you have 2 more weeks to
Yeah.
get the same amount of rep, and you also sort of have less value for the crests probably each week anyway. So I feel like that would be way better. So I hope that that's the case. And I really hope that it's not like the case where I end up doing some crazy grind and then it's all going to be like completely worthless because this other thing came out as well or something. So I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about that. And I don't like the sort of uncertainty as part of that.
Yeah, the uncertainty it's a bit annoying, but I don't think I mind this too much. It's it's very, very specific, but as long as the grind is really rough and the reward is not like insane, it is probably good that they have it. Because I feel like most people won't be expected to do it. And like I feel forced to do a lot of things. But getting the Dream Warden thing the first week, there's no way I have the time to do that, you know? Or the will to do that.
Yeah,
And
it wasn't fun. I'll say
yeah,
that.
because I got it the second week and I didn't really feel like it affected our progress or anything. Like it is a gain, but it's not that huge, you know? So it's they're walking a fine line, but for me, it's probably good that they cater some to the grindy people as well. There should be some power in doing something. I just don't want it to be. I just don't want it to be like artifact power or something where you get sort of a. You get direct gain from doing it every step of the way, because then you really incentivize to do some of the grind at least. It's very nice when you have a very simple and clean way of getting the weekly progression you're supposed to get. In this expansion, it seems to be like the big world quest in either of the zones. And then you could grind your renown and you get a bigger reward at the end. But if you're not even contemplating, like I'm not gonna do all the quest, all the rares, all the world quest, everything all day for 4 weeks, then it's fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, but it's also I don't know. I
It's a
just
fine
don't.
line.
Yeah, it's a very fine line. I'm a little bit uneasy about it just because like I feel like there's a lot of things they could have done that I wouldn't have felt so bad about. But the whole crest thing, I just really because I just know last time when this happened, I just know that I wore that heroic crafted or like free crest heroic level item whatever. I just know that I had that on for like 8 weeks or some crazy I don't know like a really long time in season 3.
Yeah,
You
but
know, I had it like all
the
of
loss
progress. I
of
think.
doing it, the loss of doing it is not having the item, right? It's spending valuable quests, sure, but you're spending quests for a slightly better version of the item. Or you could craft a heroic crest, but I guess most people crafted the max crest if you could.
Yeah, I mean that might also be. It might also be like that. The meta turns out that way instead because I don't know how many crests you need of each now. But since the mythic track is longer, it might be that you end up crafting heroic anyway, even if you didn't get the one. But if you end up doing
Yeah.
that, it's gonna feel even worse. I feel like so. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about it, but I'm sure that come the raid and everything, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I'm like I just don't want someone to have a competitive advantage over me already, right? I feel like then I should do it, right? If someone else is able to do it, and I
Yeah.
know that it doesn't. I know that it's not a huge thing, but like you still enchant all of your gear. You still put gems in all of your gear, right? Because it's not like you couldn't kill Mythic Fire Rack if like 3 people in your guild didn't have a flask, or you could still do it, but it's just like you want everything that you can get,
Yeah.
kind of.
But at least it's I completely get what you're saying, but I think it is I don't know to what degree what level of power you're supposed to gain, but getting some sort of power for putting in an absurd amount of time and effort to me makes sense. And I haven't really felt bad since the sort of artifact power things were in the game, because most of the small power gains you've gotten through rep and renounce and whatnot haven't been. Of course, it's a competitive advantage, but it's not a very major one.
It just for me, it's just like I would, because the thing is like I would accept it 100% if there was some form of difficulty in doing it, if you know what I mean. But like this is just completely like mindless grinding, right? There's absolutely zero skill involved in being able to get the renown, right? I mean, it's just you're just doing world content, right? Um,
Yeah,
so
but you're also getting an heroic crest, so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not.
I know, but that turns out even for like a race to world first level player to actually be valuable.
Yeah,
But also, I mean, if it turns out that you can't actually get renown 24 before like week 3 of the raid or something, then it also doesn't matter, or well, then it matters a lot less, right? If that's the case. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how it sort of turns out. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. Like if we start looking at like the Echo players, Liquid players, and you see that none of them have been doing the renown grind, then probably they figure out that you can't do it. So
Yeah, I
we'll.
saw that they did. I saw that they're holding off on all the renown until Dark Moon Fair on next. It is on Sunday.
Yeah, like all the one-time quests.
Yeah, so they're holding off to the 1st of September, and then they're gonna take the buff and turn them all in. So I guess they're trying to max it out, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not bothered. I'm quite happy with the level of power you gain from investing more time. I feel free to do some things that give me power, but I can sort of choose how I want to allocate my time and what content to do, because everything gives you something to an extent. You just kind of have to get you're kind of forced to do some renown things, but it feels like it's a very reasonable level to get the rewards.
How would you feel about like if there was another way to get it as well? I mean, let's say that they put in something like similar challenge level to like the Mage Tower or something. Some just weird challenge that you could do. I mean, you could do it whenever, but reasonably, like it would be the only hard thing or whatever, or relatively speaking, hard thing available for these first whatever 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is before the raid comes out. How would you feel about having some sort of challenge in there that could sort of allow you to skip some of the grinding, or just on its own, just having something to do that wasn't just completely pointless or not pointless, but boring/mindless content?
Uh, Maybe, but then the other reward would have to be easier. So if we're talking about the renown 24 heroic crest as an example, then I guess it couldn't be 24 renown, because then there's no way someone who likes outworld content or whatever, they can't get it at the same pace. Then you sort of reverse the issue, I suppose, right?
Yeah, but that's not a well. I mean, that's I don't know, but is that an issue? Because the player who can't, I mean, the thing is like I never feel bad for gating player power behind difficulty, because I feel like obviously if you couldn't do, I don't know, Mage Tower or whatever that would be, if you couldn't do that in the first weeks of the expansion, then you're probably not going to be doing any content where it actually matters if you have that other crest thing. um, Maybe I'm just being sort of selfish here from the perspective of a slightly more try hard player, but I don't know. I don't like when I get gated behind something that has nothing to do with how well I play, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you're probably gatekeeping a bit, because I'd reckon there's a lot of people above us that would say the same thing to us. Like there is no need for us to go as hard as we do, but that's not really the point. You go as hard as you want to get as much fun as you can, right? Like obviously neither of us need to do splits or need to max out the vault to complete the content at sort of the pace we're expecting to.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
a lot of the fun is trying to the extent you're committed to.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't dislike it, but I see the hypocrisy in it. You know, I'd be a bit. I don't think I would suggest such a solution. Although I'd love to see some sort of challenging content with some sort of reward, because that'd be fun.
yeah. I feel like they could have opened up. I mean, for example, delves or something. Um, you know, because now they're
Yeah,
capped on really low level, right?
yeah, but it's also early access, so I mean, maybe for context, we could say that we're recording this on the 26th, so it's Monday evening in the EU. So tomorrow is release, or in 4 hours the heroic dungeons will unlock, and then I guess it's more fair to rate what content you can do, right?
Yeah, for sure. But are they actually increasing the delves you can do? Wasn't it that you were supposed to wait you're still supposed to wait with your keys even further, right? You're not supposed to use them this week anyway.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to wait to use the actual key, but the key isn't gating you from doing delves. The key is gating you from opening a chest at the end of the game, at the end of the delve, I believe. So you're pretty much pooling that resource so you can open a chest that has a decent item level in it, which unlocks on heroic week.
Yeah,
So
but
delves
doesn't that
aren't
mean that
getting
the
uncapped.
yeah, but you don't get any reward from the delve, right? The only thing you get now is you can level Bran, right? I don't think you can get any
Yeah,
items.
there's I've done like 3 delves, so don't quote me, but there's several chests, and it's just some of the dungeon that have the big chest that needs the key. So I'm pretty sure you just do a delve and you get the normal, so to say, reward, and then you consume the key to get like a big weekly reward. Not like a weekly chest, I don't think, but you can still do the delve and get rewards for sure. You just don't get the best reward.
Okay. Yeah, because I haven't. I did. You know, I had to do one delve for like the main story campaign, but that's the only delve I've done. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I guess you just get gear on par with like normal dungeons or something, right? If you're doing the low delves now.
yeah, yeah. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't talk too much about delves if we have 4 of them between us.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think like we're gonna end up doing a lot of delves in general, right? I think we're gonna probably end up doing those whatever the highest level delve you get rewards from when they come out, like in heroic week or whatever, and then you're gonna spend your keys, and that's gonna probably be it, right? And probably not gonna do more delves from that point on because after M plus comes out, there's no way you're gonna do delves, right? It's not gonna be giving as good gear as delves or the raid.
But I think technically, I'm not sure. I think, yeah, the M plus week, the delves aren't going to be worth, but the heroic week, when M zeros are released, I don't think you want to step foot in an M0, if I understand correctly. But I guess they're pushing like delves so people try it. Because I think the heroic week, the max reward we're gonna be able to get outside of raid are delves.
Yeah, I think you're gonna still do M0 for like trinkets and stuff, right? But otherwise, you're probably gonna just do the delves for like raw item level, probably.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun to see how the long release schedule is gonna affect the feeling of the first couple of weeks. Because even now it's like almost 2.5 weeks until there's a heroic is released, heroic raid.
Yeah, I mean, did you like? How do you feel about this? I mean, was it this long in Dragonflight as well? I can't remember, but if this feels like it's such a long time with nothing.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure. It might have been 2 weeks, but then I think more things were unlocked. Like I can't remember ever spending 2 weeks and not being able to step into an M0 or something. Haven't you been able to step into an M0
Yeah,
like
you
day
definitely
3?
did. Yeah, you always did like the M0 sweep as soon as you dinged. You could always do heroic dungeons and M0 dungeons, but it's a bit different now, right? Because the M0 dungeons now are like M plus 10 or whatever, right? From the previous expansions in terms of difficulty. So the heroic dungeons that are going to unlock now, I guess, in a few hours, those are the same basically as the M0 dungeons were before. And this is going to be
Yeah.
like the quote unquote real launch, right? So I guess it's going to be pretty much like you can do M0, but queuable or something. It's a bit different, I guess, but still the same sort of.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's if you had to decide, I would prefer it being slower. Like if I say it like this, the casual in me likes that it's slow because it means I can gear my characters and I can gear as many characters as I'd like, not just how many I have time for, pretty much. And that feels good. But I guess the competitive side feels more like what are we doing? Like there's no real content to do. So maybe we can circle back in 2.5 weeks and see how it feels, but it is probably decent to take it slow because at least I wouldn't have checked out other things otherwise. Like I've never done renown at all. I did the Dream Warden one or the Dream Flight in season 3 of Dragonflight, but like I looked at professions yesterday for the first time in 4 years. Have you done that? Have you looked at professions?
I mean, I picked up enchanting and engineering as I always do. I just disenchanted some stuff, but not much more than that. I disenchanted some stuff, saw if that was worth anything on the auction house, saw that the answer was absolutely no, and then I just used those up to get some skills. I have like 30 skill in enchanting and I think 1 in engineering. I didn't really do anything, or 2 in engineering. I don't know.
Yeah, I
So
think what I was getting at is that I honestly think that professions might be the most confusing thing in the game. Like, it seems to me that the system they changed to in Dragonflight is good because there's way more depth to it. But I opened up my profession and I looked at enchanting, I look at the Wowhead, I look at the other profession site, and I do like the normal leveling up guide that you've done over the years, you know, and then I get to the specialization and my head just melts. Like I have no clue what to do. Like it's so confusing. So I'm not sure now if I got to 27 in enchanting before I gave up.
yeah, I mean, I always used to, like, prior to this expansion, I always used to be maxed out in like enchanting engineering. I used to have everything because it was very easy to do, and there was really nothing. There was nothing like there was nothing to be confused about in the system. Um, and I don't like it's not like I'm not that confused about this system. I know roughly how it works. I haven't really put any time into it, but I understand like there's this metal resource you can use to craft stuff. You can put some equipment on to increase your skill, and then there's a bunch of stuff you can like specialize into. And in the end, technically, you can get all of them if you farmed out like a crazy amount of knowledge or whatever. But the reason I don't interact with it now is just because it's such a big time sink. But I feel like that's okay. I like because there's no player power tied to professions anymore. So I'm perfectly content not doing it. I'll just keep engineering for the random weird things that always keep working, like knockback belt or invis belt or those type of things, right? And then I'll have enchanting
Yeah.
to be able to disenchant stuff. But I'm probably not going to be the one I'm not going to be enchanting my own gear or anything. Someone else is going to have to do that because I'm not going to spend the time doing all of these things. But I think that's fine. I mean, it's if because there are people clearly who are interacting with this system and who I assume are enjoying it. Maybe they're just doing it for gold, but I assume people are enjoying the sort of crafting things. And for
Yeah.
them, then that's fine. I mean, they took away a system that I barely interacted with, but I made use of to make a system that's probably better for other people. So that's probably good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just feel like professions are harder than raiding.
I
And
mean, if you
I
put any time into it, I'm sure you wouldn't feel that way. But
I don't know. Maybe I'll use these 2 weeks, this chill 2 weeks, and explore some professions. I'm not sure yet. It was my idea, but I'm a bit scared, so we'll see.
like I tried to do the same thing in Dragonflight. Like I tried to be like, okay, well there was some time as well. I don't know if it was 2 weeks, but there was some time at the start of the expansion where you didn't really have anything else to do, and also was like, okay, well I guess I should just fix my professions, right? So I started doing it, but then I realized pretty quickly like I don't have a single recipe now that I can craft that would give me skill. And I was like, wait, how do I even progress further in my enchanting or my engineering now? And
Yeah.
then I realized, well, you actually need to get reputation or renown, as I guess it's called now.
Oh,
And
okay.
and then at that, because you need to buy the recipes or the formulas or whatever they're called for the different things. I guess schematic for engineering, and I don't know, I
Yeah.
guess maybe it's formula for enchanting. I don't know, but yeah. So in Dragonflight, there wasn't really any other reward that was worthwhile from doing the renown, so I didn't do it, and I just like screw it, I didn't do it. But now, since I'm already kind of grinding some renown for gear now, then I was thinking that I might do some enchanting or engineering or something, since if I'm not gonna get like stuck right away from because I don't have the required formulas or recipes or whatever. So we'll see. I might humor it a little bit, but as soon as heroic week is out, I'm not gonna touch it again probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to at least one patch be able to craft something for someone, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to be able to enchant my own gear. That would be good, but I don't want to I don't want to go through like a huge long process because it's not that hard. I'll just go to the auction house. Otherwise that's also fine.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Have you thought anything about your about the splits, doing splits for the first time?
Um, no, not really. I mean, obviously it's very easy for me because I'm no longer in a position where because if we were doing splits with my old guild, I would be the one, setting up and, actually, you know, trying to maximize the splits. But since I'm just a raider here, I don't have to do any of those things. And since I'm also playing warrior on both my characters, I I don't feel like I have to do anything special. I mean, obviously the same normal prep you would do before the raid. You would like look up what the bosses are doing and these things, right? And I'm gonna prep my gear on both my characters. But other than that, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna show up and blast. I don't think there isn't much to it for me. I don't know if it's different for you since you're gonna play more different characters, and I guess it's not even 100%. You're gonna play those like specific three characters that you think now that might change, right, over the coming 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about it a lot recently since I'm going through it for the first time, and it's been. I think I've been on a roller coaster all the way around at this point because at first you figure you want your split alts to be the contending characters of what you would play. So I have a flex spot, like I will fill whatever's needed, kind of, and that's what I like, so it's no problem at all. And then I realized it's really hard to predict the meta or like what we would need to play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start speculating, you realize there's no point in speculating. Maybe I just play good split characters, like characters that seem to be strong in this patch, and then sort it afterwards. So it's been a bit more difficult than I would have thought because I really just figured you put in at least two characters that you think are because we're doing 3 splits. So I figured I put in my main, and then I put in another one that could be good, and then just whatever. But now it's been more like we have some idea, but essentially no idea what I'm gonna play. So what would you do? What split characters would you choose?
Yeah, yeah, I can see how that is.
It's a bit confusing.
But what are you gonna do? So you've leveled up all the healers. What are you gonna do with those other? Was it other three characters that you
Yeah.
haven't? Yeah, what are you gonna do with those? Are you gonna play? Are you gonna clear the heroic on like Pug on those as well, or What's your plan with that?
No, so basically I just leveled the healers to have them because I feel like it's not unheard of that you randomly realize you need a specific spec or class for a fight or someone leaves or whatever. So it's partly raid, but then it's more M plus and PvP. And there's nothing else to do now, so it's a perfect time to level the characters, and it's gonna be super sweet when I randomly on a Saturday feel like maybe I should gear a Holy Paladin for PvP, or maybe I should get a Resto Shaman for M+, and it's just there, you can just start. So I'm not planning to do anything on the other three characters. I will just prepare the 3 ones I will use for splits, and then we'll see if I even play Shaman for the entire expansion. It doesn't really matter if I don't. I just like the peace of mind of having it available.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean it's going to be really interesting to see how it turns out with the whole heroic week now, splitting and everything, and also I guess with the newer sort of acquisition pattern, because like the biggest thing for splits has always been that you get the 4 set on everyone.
Yeah.
Of course, like because like we obviously use splits very differently from like the Race to World First guilds, right? Because they have a lot of characters, and then they send all of those characters, and then they pick the one with the best gear. But no one outside of the world like top 3, 4, 5 something is doing that. No one, like, that's not what people are doing. People
Yeah, they can
probably,
only do it because they have helpers. So yeah, I haven't even thought about that. They do splits in an entirely different way since they can have one of each armor type or set or whatever, and then just fill as many helpers as they can and the dead split odds. But we are using splits to just funnel if we have 22 characters, each split is trying to gear a third of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like yes, exactly. So same for Regular. We have 2 split runs where half of the group is a main, and those people
Yeah.
get all the gear, and the alts get 0. Which is kind of like the alts are just the helpers, but you don't have more than one character that you're trying to gear. So
Yeah.
I know, like, there is no scenario where it's possible that I'm not going to be playing on my main warrior now. Whereas, like, if you look at like Revis or something from Echo, right? He doesn't know which of his like. He probably has
Yeah.
7 different potential warriors that are going to play, and then he probably has even more warriors maybe that he's using for splits or something. That he's not going to
Yeah.
be.
And their split run is like Reves and 2 other people, and then 7 random split alts, and then the rest just random people from the trade chat or
Yeah, I mean, you
whatever.
probably only have like 1 of each armor type or something, right? I don't know how they usually do it, but something like that, right? You probably don't
Yeah.
have much more than that in each split, and you just
I
hope
mean,
for.
even Reves, half of his warriors must be dead from the start, right?
Yeah, surely some of them are just helpers, right? Just to gear other people as well, for sure.
Yeah, that must be fun to set up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you saw like what was it like Miras or someone had like 13 or 17 80s within the first day, or. But I guess they're
Yeah.
multi-boxing, so it's a bit different to it. But yeah, it was very quick to level as well. So
It's going to be even harder now to predict what they're going to play when they've had even more time to level and heroic week as well. So they have 7 days to do splits, so they will do the most amount of splits you possibly could do, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
they're gonna go crazy in heroic week. There's nothing else to do. So yeah.
yeah. So it's not going to be. I mean, Revis is not a good example because he plays warrior, right? But if you take someone else that has more of a flick spot, they might be really. It might be really difficult to figure out what they're playing if they have half shaman, half druid or something. You can't really deduct too much about the comp if 10 people are like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna have to look after heroic week, right? When you see what they actually have put gear on, then you can actually tell a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah, but that's like even worst case scenario, they're gonna have gear on like 40 characters, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah, because I mean, if they have the time, why wouldn't they just, even if they think that there's like 1% chance that they're gonna play something, they still might just gear it. Why not?
Yeah, yeah, because if there's 0.1% chance that you play DPS druid, they will still have 2 geared DPS druids. Like there's no way to go 0,
Yeah, no, and I
right?
mean the like the I guess because the only option, right, is you just get more of all of the things, or like you can either basically get more. Say that like you're gonna have like a warrior or something, right? Surely what you could do as an alternative, instead of like splitting it up, like is you could say like, well, we're just gonna gamble on even more warriors or even more druids here, and we're just gonna keep sending and see if we can RNG them even better than they did in the best splits. Because what ends up happening is like after heroic week, it's gonna be like, well, this character got the best gear, we're gonna pick that one, right? But obviously you could keep sending it, and because surely they don't get the theoretical maximum gear, right? I mean, surely it would be theoretically possible to get every single piece of gear from the heroic grade, probably, right, on one character if you got really lucky.
Yeah.
But surely that's not what ends up happening.
Yeah.
But you could just keep sending until that happens, or you could sort of more spread out and be like, well, at least we have like every class, at least like 3 or 4 or whatever copies of them that are all pretty well geared. I guess you could sort
Yeah,
of.
but even if they have some sort of inside information, they're still subject to random heroic week tunings.
Yeah, for sure.
So even if you want to really commit, like Revis will play warrior, right? And he might not have another class as an alt, for example. But I guess they would feel really uneasy if they didn't have access to a Windwalker for no reason when they have the possibility of doing splits for an entire week.
Yeah, yeah, sure. It would be interesting to hear thoughts from Liquid and Echo after the race about how differently they would approach the splits just because they have a heroic week. I don't know if it's going to change anything or if they're just going to do the same thing anyway. Because I mean, I feel like they've been doing a lot of splits anyway, right now in.
Yeah, but it surely must be different because then they're looking at like there's obviously a point in the graph that like there's a point in average item level or average gear. Let's call it gear score for like some sort of power with the gear. There is some point in the gear score where you would where it would be the right decision to start playing Mythic. You might not know it, like you might not know exactly when what level of gear you would need, but there's no way they're splitting as much as they feel like they have the time for and getting as good as gear as they can. Because as you're saying, you're not going to get the actual theoretical max. But in Heroic Week, there's no time limit. Or you have the week to just do splits. There's not even M plus or anything. So they're just going to send as many splits as they can, I'd assume. Like there's no reason at all to not do as many as you could.
Yeah. But like, I don't know how, because obviously there's some sort of there's some sort of asymptotic like limit of
Yeah.
the more splits you do, the less you gain, and at some point there's just no more. You can't get any more from it.
But surely they can't speculate on it correctly. And if it's not an Heroic Week, they need to try and speculate, right? They have a time crunch as well. They need to do the mythic raids as well.
Yeah, I know,
As I feel like we've
that's
discussed in
like
our raids
the
a lot. Yeah.
yeah, but that's pretty. I guess that's the interesting question. Is like where, yeah, like how differently does it make them approach it? Because I guess now, I guess what they've done now probably is they level enough characters so that they think they can fill the entire week of splits. I guess that's
Yeah.
probably the only thing that makes sense, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's the same thing now. Before Heroic Week, you have nothing better to do effectively than level up, unless there's some weird grind thing that ends up being worth it. But they'll probably find time for that as well.
Yeah, I feel like from a viewer's perspective, it's really good that it's a Heroic Week as well if you want to watch the Race of World first, because then you can just skim or you can watch as little of the Heroic splits as you'd like, and then you know when they go into Mythic.
Well, they're not gonna go. They're surely gonna do heroic on the mythic week as well, right? They're probably gonna do some splits on the start of the week as well, but a lot
But
fewer than they would otherwise.
when you're watching the Race the World first, then it's all the difficulties are out at the same time. I know the casters say that they're almost done with the splits, but you really have no idea if they're gonna start on Saturday or Monday, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. It's gonna be a lot better. I'm probably not even. I'm just not gonna watch on the heroic week. I guess I don't know. It's not fun to watch the splits, right? But
Yeah.
super fun when they start going into mythic. So
Yeah, on Wednesday I will have it, or on the reset to Mythic. Even if they're doing splits, the stream will be open, and I will be watching and listening at on the side for sure.
yeah, like on the first day, like before you like, because I guess all of us or both of us are gonna raid on the Wednesday, which is the reset day in EU, right? So we're gonna definitely be watching before that point. We're gonna be watching probably, but like after the point where you've already done and cleared the raid yourself, it's not super interesting to watch them do heroic splits, right? But it's fun to see it the first time, for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, it's definitely better from a viewer experience this way for sure. But yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be some heroic runs on the mythic week as well, but probably a lot less or a lot fewer than it would be otherwise.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, do you
Would
have?
you? Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you have any like tips or tricks or anything that you've sort of figured out now, or something in general that you've thought about during the leveling or now when you're max level, or anything you wanted to sort of share.
I don't think I have any, what to say, hidden information, but dungeon leveling with low level people is great for time. Buying gear on the auction house is great to get some gear at max level. Uh, yeah, that's about it. I haven't really understood all the system. It's quite a lot. I'm just trying to do all the quests, all the side quests in each zone for the renown since I have the time. How about you? Do you have any tips and tricks?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like again, it's by no means hidden information, but of course, if you're gonna do the dungeon leveling and you're already exalted, or you don't have to be exalted, but to get all of them, you have to be exalted, I guess. With your guild, you can buy those banners, and you can get like a tracker week aura for everyone's banners in the group, and you just keep like slamming down the banners, and you get like XP increase within like 100 yards of the banner. So covers a pretty large area and just makes it a little bit faster. But the big thing that I really like, it's just so good. It's like the interact key. Like if you go into the settings and you search for interact, and you find like a little checkbox that's just called enable interact key. and then you bind the interact with target to something, then there's this effectively like it doesn't, when you click when you click the box so that you enable the interact key, it means that you don't have to be targeting something to interact with it. So you can just like walk up to anything in the world, or any, like an NPC or a quest item or anything, and you just start spamming your interact key, and it will just do whatever it is you're supposed to do, which is like talk to the NPC, or pick up the thing on the ground, or destroy something, or whatever it is, you know. And that's really nice throughout the, you know, leveling or doing quests now. It's completely pointless in, you know, in competitive content, but for this open world content, it's super nice. And especially, I don't know, I've seen like so many posts now on the WoW subreddit and on Twitter and stuff, where people are so angry with people who park their mounts on top of quest givers and stuff like that. But if you
Oh,
do
yeah.
the interact key thing, it doesn't, you know, you're immune to that, because you just spam your interact key and it just works anyway. It doesn't matter if anyone's on the mount or blocking them from being clicked or whatever. So that, I guess that's the biggest tip I can give to people.
I had no clue. I mean, I've only been playing the game for 20 years, so how would I know, you know?
And it's pretty new, I think. I think it came out in Dragonflight or something.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember what. Yeah, I think it's either Dragonflight or Shadowlands. I think Dragonflight is pretty new. I think it might have been part of like when Dragonflight's pre-patch came or something. But yeah, it's a really nice feature. You just have like a really nice button and you just run around spamming it your whole leveling. It like it 100% speeds up. There's no way you can be as fast by like trying to click everything, especially when things like bug when you try to click them. This still works. So yeah, pretty great.
Nice. What do you think you will be doing next week? As in tomorrow, I guess, when the heroic dungeons are out. Is it just heroic spam the entire week?
I mean, I don't know, like, because you don't really get like what did they drop, like 467? Or what
Yeah.
did they drop? Yeah. Oh no, 567, I guess it is. Yeah, I mean that's not bad. That's worse than what you get from the World Quest, right? Don't you get like five? I have some like 570 items from World Quest, right? I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
I would guess that you're getting. I think you're getting crests, and I would guess you're getting the Valor Stones as well. So I think that might be a bigger reason, since you can already upgrade the auction house, the BOE Explorer gear. You can upgrade to 580 for only Valor Stones. That's gonna be great. And if you can cap out your crests, you can craft a lot of pieces with no downside, or upgrade other higher tracked low level gear, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're gonna basically be doing them just for the Valor Stones, I guess, because you definitely want to go into. You're definitely gonna want to go into heroic with capped on Valor Stones, right? That's gonna definitely
Yeah,
be, or maybe not
and
capped, but almost at least.
you definitely want to have upgraded all your gear that only cost Valor and Weather Stone, or whatever the LFR crest is called. You want to spend all of those as well if you want to prepare for Heroic Week.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's much else you can. Yeah, I mean, I'm guess I'm just gonna this. I'm gonna try to keep. I'm gonna finish up all the quests to give rep. I'm gonna keep doing the world quest every day. But other than that, yeah, heroic dungeons, I guess, are gonna be what's, you know.
I think I'm gonna be spending a lot of time in the Heroic Dungeons, since I need to gear 3 characters to the extent you can gear them right now. And I still need to do the quests in the last zone for the renown. But I don't see myself over grinding the rares and world quest or whatnot. I think Heroic Dungeons will be a lot more fun, and until you're done with it, it's gonna be as big or even bigger of a reward, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. As long as you can do the upgrades, like if you can do the upgrades with the Valor Stones and those like low level crests, then definitely, yeah, it's gonna be really useful to do that.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I guess I had a question that still felt like was never really answered last week. I don't know if you have the
Yeah.
answer now, and it's sort of like how do you like end a podcast?